Hi family, I'm Sabrina Celeste. Welcome back. What is EFT? EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique. It's also referred to as tapping. It is considered to be a holistic healing modality that combines elements of traditional Chinese acupressure and modern psychology. I'm a 25 plus year veteran massage therapist, so I somewhat studied, because it takes years and years and years to learn and understand the 361 meridian points that we have in our body. So EFT just involves tapping on specific meridian points on the body, similar to acupuncture points, while you're focusing on negative emotions or speaking of, something emotional, stressful, painful, something that caused you or is causing you a lot of pain, like memories, even physical sensations, fear of snakes, claustrophobia. That was one I had. So basically, this process helps release energy blockages and restores balance to the body's energy system, which can become very disrupted by traumatic experiences. I personally struggled with PTSD for a very long time, not even knowing or understanding that I had this until I found EFT. We have what we call setting up. So the setting up part of the tapping is you start on the hand, and we call this the karate chop point because it's like, hi-ya, it's the karate chop point right on the side of the hand. So as you're tapping this, you begin to say affirmations or say, not necessarily affirmations. You can say affirmations, but this is mostly the setting up statement. I am so, angry. I'm so angry. And I don't know how to focus right now because this experience, whatever it was, made me so angry that I don't know what to do. And while you're tapping the karate chop point, you begin with your statement, your setup statement. And then you end with, but I love and accept and forgive myself anyway. And you do this 3 times, even though I'm really upset and this happened and I don't know what to do about it, or I can't think straight. I love and accept and forgive myself completely. And you do it one more time. So you do this 3 times in a row. And while you're doing this, of course, you're expressing your fear or your sadness or your anger regarding the situation that you're tapping about. So you want to assess your progress. The emotional intensity is assessed before and after tapping on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 being the most intense. So if I ask you, how angry are you on a scale of 1 to 10? You might say, it feels like a 9, it feels like a 10, it feels like a 7. Okay, that's where you are. So as you do the tapping sequence, and I also combine it with the EMDR and what we call the gamut point, which is extra. I'll do a video on that later. You are releasing the energy, the memory that's been trapped in the cells of that meridian while you're speaking about it. Now, therapists are starting to use this as a form of cognitive behavioral therapy, and that's just because it works. For PTSD and trauma, EFT actually works by helping the brain reprocess distressing memories and emotions in a way that reduces their intensity and power over the individual. Because when you're upset about something, sometimes you've heard that expression, you're giving it too much power. Well, for someone who struggles with PTSD, like I once did, when, you're giving someone power over you, it feels real. It feels like that person, has the power to take my joy, to, I've become overcome with feelings of fear or doubt or guilt or shame or worry or whatever it is. But, the intensity is pretty strong. So that happens a lot of times when a person struggles with PTSD. What they're doing is they're connecting to that feeling of when they were a child and they had that feeling of helplessness. And of course, as a child, we did give all of our power over to, our caretakers, the adults in our lives, our moms or dads. And if they were not, if they did not consider how we were processing all that negative energy or anger or whatever it is that they were projecting onto us, if they weren't careful with that, we would take that on. And so anytime an experience happens, it's called a trigger, and you get triggered by that current experience, what's going on is that you're being triggered. It's connected to an experience that happened when you were a child, if that makes sense. So you're going to respond and react the same way you learned how to do as a child. And so that is what gets trapped in the cells of our body. Because obviously, if we're looking at a situation or a person that really has the only power they have over you is the power that you give them, then where does all that fear and that anxiety and that, where does that come from? Well, it comes from our childhood. So essentially, that's what we're tapping out. We're tapping out the traumatic experiences that happened when we were a child and how we responded or reacted to those situations. I'm tired. I hope I'm making sense. So eventually what tapping does is it calms the nervous system. As you're tapping on the meridian points, it sends calming signals to the brain, particularly to the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for the fight or flight response. And overall, it helps reduce the emotional charge of traumatic memories. And then what occurs is desensitization by tapping while recalling the traumatic event. Your brain can actually reframe and neutralize that painful memory. And over time, it reduces that triggering effect that it has on you when something happens and you get triggered. EFT is wonderful because it restores, energy flow. Trauma can disrupt the body's energy system. It can create blocks that lead to emotional and even physical symptoms. If a person is experiencing a lot of anxiety or self-induced stress, you start to create too much cortisol, the fight or flight, hormone. And over time, that hormone can break down your immune system, and then you become susceptible to diseases and illnesses. And what EFT does is it restores balance. It allows the person to process emotions more effectively. It improves emotional regulation. And regular practice can help individuals feel more in control of their emotions. That would be nice, right? I mean, I don't know. I grew up in a Mexican household. There was a lot of emotion, a lot of bursts of emotion, and a lot of walking on eggshells. So, needless to say, when I got triggered, I would react or respond the same way I learned how to as a child. And, it's not productive. And what I noticed as I was growing up, looking around at other, I guess non-Hispanic or, my Caucasian friends, they always seemed to be more calm. They didn't really talk much. They were quiet. They didn't respond a lot to, they didn't react a lot to things in the way I reacted. And so I wanted to be more like that. I wanted to understand how was it that they could be so calm in such a disturbing situation. Well, one, coming from a dysfunctional childhood and a lot of trauma that I personally have experienced as a child doesn't help. And I'm sure a lot of my friends that I'm speaking about, that I observed, did not have those experiences. So of course, if you don't have those experiences, then you don't understand them. So that was the one thing that, I wanted, that I really loved about EFT was, to be able to feel more in control of my emotions. It really started to reduce my anxiety levels. And I have to tell you that it took a while. It did take a while. I've been tapping for a long time. And I would say probably the first 3 years, I was just tapping out childhood stuff, things that happened when I was a kid. Of course, slipping in and out of depression, that has a lot to do with, that's one of the emotions that you experience when, you come from dysfunction. I feel like depression and fear and anger, they're all cousins, right? Anger is a secondary emotion to fear, and depression is the cousin of, of anger is a secondary emotion of fear, and depression is the cousin to fear. To fear? I said that right? Did I say that right? Okay, anyway, you understand. I'm tired. But there have been some very serious studies that have shown that EFT can significantly reduce PTSD symptoms. And I can speak for myself. It's been my experience that I don't think I have PTSD anymore. EFT, it just provides a safe, non-invasive way to heal and move forward. It allows you to lead a more balanced and fulfilling life, I feel. That's been my experience.